Week 4 is here, Bills fans, and they're not exactly playing one of the NFL's Titans. No, they match up against the New Orleans Saints, and they are a 16.5-point favorite coming into this one undefeated 3-0. The Saints, they are winless at 0-3, and we're going to break down this matchup on today's edition of the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. We'll talk about both teams. They do a Saints deep dive, really tell you guys who the Bills are matching up against this week. We'll get into some injury news between a couple of guys who the Bills fans know might not be suiting up this week. And then the keys to victory. 5 keys to victory for your Buffalo Bills to walk away 4-0 after the 4th week of the 2025 NFL season. Before we get into all that, though, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're in a Week 4 sub battle against the fine folks over at Saints Now. Trace Gerard has been getting his people in the New Orleans area to hit that subscribe button. I need those Western New Yorkers to do the same. So if you want free Bills content every single day and you want to beat the Saints off the field before we beat them on the field, go down below and hit that subscribe button right now. Alrighty, to paint a picture of this matchup for you guys, the Bills are a massive favorite. So much so, and we know how historically great they've been in the regular season over the past few years, many dominant wins. They haven't been this big of a favorite since the 2021 season, when they were a 17.5-point favorite over the Houston Texans. And for more context, the Bills won that game 40-0. So heading into this one, not a lot of worry as far as the matchup here with New Orleans, and they haven't given you much reason to worry. It's not like these games have been down to the wire, blown leads by the Saints. As a matter of fact, the Saints are the only team in the National Football League that have yet to run an offensive play while holding a lead. They're not a good offensive unit. They're really not a good defensive unit. Their special teams might even be more brutal. This is one of the worst teams in the National Football League, and they're going to be competing for the number 1 overall pick. They have a minus 31-point differential through 3 weeks with losses to the Cardinals, the 49ers. And look, those are all by 1 possession, but the Cardinals one was kind of garbage time. They were in control for most of that game. But I'll tell you what, Spencer Rattler balled out in that in that 49er game. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then they got absolutely woodshed by the Seattle Seahawks in Week 3. So the Saints not doing so hot. They also made history in that Week 3 matchup against Seattle. They're the first team in NFL history to gain 280 yards, which is close to league average this season, which is pretty low, but give up fewer than 330 yards, not lose the turnover battle, and lose the game by over 30 points. Impressive stuff from the New Orleans Saints and Kellen Moore in his first head coaching season. Spencer Rattler is the quarterback you're going to be going up against in Week 4 here against New Orleans, and honestly, he hasn't looked like the worst quarterback in the league so far. He's completing the ball at a pretty high rate. Yeah, it was sub 60% in Week 1, but in the weeks 2 and 3, he was above 70% completion rate. Not exactly taking shots down the field. Is that entirely his fault? No, the Saints are facing some of the most too high safety looks in all of football. But man, like I said in that San Fran game, 270 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, consistently moving the ball downfield for the Saints against what I know to be a pretty solid defense in San Fran. I mean, I can't sit here and act like Spencer Rattler is, for what Bills fans are familiar with, Nathan Peterman or anything like that. Like, he can go out there and manage a game, but against the Bills, they're going to need to do a little bit more than that. As far as what the Saints can hurt you with, if they're going to beat you anywhere, if they're going to set a tone anywhere, it's going to be with their defensive front. Over the past few weeks, running backs and rushing attacks against New Orleans have been limited to under 5 yards a carry, sometimes under 4 yards per carry in some of these games, and it's because they have some talent along their defensive line. Cam Jordan, obviously, we know, is one of those guys who just continues to play at such a high level at even a veteran age in this league. Brian Brzee, Devon Godchaux, though, he's pretty solid, and then you got Chase Young there as well. Some solid depth for New Orleans along the defensive line too. But they've put up pretty solid numbers, good pressure rate. And, it's been their calling card, or at least the identity of this Saints team. If they have one, it's their defensive line. Luckily, though, for Buffalo's case, I'm way more confident in their offensive line. The Bills have been keeping Josh Allen very, very clean throughout the season so far. And it is one of those situations where if Josh Allen has time to throw, he's going to make the completion. If Josh Allen doesn't have time to throw, he's probably going to escape. And the Bills' run blocking attack has been really, really solid as well, as they've been running a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of 13 personnel. So I am not too worried about the line of scrimmage battle between Buffalo and New Orleans. The Saints, while it is their calling card, it's still fairly average to mediocre at the end of the day in this league. So very, very confident the line of scrimmage battle will be won by your Buffalo Bills. And if you guys want that to happen, if you guys want the Bills to destroy the New Orleans Saints, show me. Go down below, smash that thumbs up icon, like today's video, manifest a big-time win in Week 4 for your Buffalo Bills over New Orleans here, as they are a huge favorite that cannot fall into the trap. We'll get into some injury news here in just a moment. Alrighty, some Bills injury report, and that is not official. You see the star up there. It's not yet the official injury report that is to be released on Wednesday. We'll have some updates, some more detailed updates on Ed Oliver and company when that comes out. Oliver, though, still dealing with that ankle. He's out of the boot, but it does probably seem like there's still some time left in his recovery process. Doesn't look like he'll be ready to go for Week 4, and I really wouldn't bother rushing him back against the team and an opponent like the New Orleans Saints. And I want to see some of these young guys along the defensive line get those reps early on in the season while the opportunity is there. Matt Milano, got that pectoral injury that he's dealing with. Not said to be a long-term thing. Good news for Bills fans. He's not going on IR, so there's a possibility that he suits up in Week 4. And I guess the same thing goes for Ed Oliver, as he's not being put on injured reserve either. But again, like, you're not playing a really elite opponent. You could probably keep Milano out here, make sure he's 100%, and make sure the re-aggravation risk is low, because he's a guy who tends to get injured again once he returns back to the lineup. Also hasn't been really, jump off the page productive so far this season, so I wouldn't be opposed to holding him out another week either. Keonta Jenkins, though, if we're looking at certain linebacker depth for Buffalo, he did suffer a leg injury in the Miami Dolphins game, and there has been no injury designation yet to be put on him, but I very much anticipate him showing up on the injury report for this week. There's always going to be a couple of names as well that we, are surprised by showing up that end up, just kind of being questionable for the sake of being questionable and end up playing on Sunday. So Keonta Jenkins, I believe, has a chance to not be one of those guys who doesn't suit up for Buffalo this week. We'll be monitoring that injury as the week goes along. Could this be the last week, though, of Maxwell Hairston and Tyler Bass on injured reserve? It's the last week that they are mandated to be on injured reserve here, so that is something certainly to keep our eyes out for once this game gets wrapped up. Bass, with the way that Matt Prater's playing, I think is probably going to stick around on IR. It doesn't seem like there's been many positive updates there. Hairston's been quiet on that front as well, and I think there's a chance they don't even activate Maxwell Hairston after this week. With the way that the Bills' schedule kind of holds up, and there being a Week 7 bye, once you activate a player off of IR and he can come back to practice and all that stuff, he has to play within 3 weeks, or I think it goes back to IR. So they're going to open up a window there. You don't really want him to be coming back that first game after the bye week, that game prep week of practice for the first time for Maxwell Hairston. You don't really want that to be during the bye week, so they might hold off. And Matt Bove, when he was talking with Sacapaccio, had a little bit more to say on the subject. He said that, I think they might wait. The bye week situates itself really interestingly with it just being 2 weeks away, where they might wait until the bye week to reevaluate everything and see where their injuries are, what roster space they have available, and what they need to do with Michael Hoecht and Larry Ogunjobi, who we all know are coming back from suspension here after Week 7, after the Bills' bye. A lot is possible, I will tell you guys, in the coming weeks here with the Bills and their injuries. Like, guys are guaranteed to get dinged up, so you don't necessarily, when you do activate these guys off of injured reserve, you got to make roster space. So you don't want to make, jump the gun on any of that stuff before you have to. But in the case of Hairston, like, I really would love to see the Bills get another speedy corner out there. They've been getting burned by speed on a couple too many plays that I have seen. They haven't been burned by them, in the win column yet. But I would love to see them not, get beat on that across that crosser route by Tyreek Hill that Tua ended up throwing, the Jalen Waddle route as well. So lots possible in the next few weeks. Maybe be cautious with Hairston, but I want to get him out there and getting the reps that he's going to need, so that doesn't happen later in the season when the Bills have more consequential matchups. Next, we'll get into the 5 keys to victory that I have for Week 4 for the Bills to come out 4-0 and probably come out with another decisive victory as well. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our proud sponsor, as this episode is brought to you guys by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid and can get you up to 2,000 times your money with one daily fantasy lineup this football season watching your Buffalo Bills. It's daily fantasy made easy, where all you have to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. Whether it's football, basketball around the corner, baseball playoffs creeping up as well, you can mix and match all these different sports and stat projections. PrizePicks always wants to make it easier for you guys to do so and win real money in real time as well, like these cool offers that they throw out. A free $50 in lineups when you use our promo code CLNS and play your first $5 lineup. You don't have to win that lineup to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. If you guys wanted to see my lineup for Week 4's action with your Buffalo Bills matching up against the New Orleans Saints, here it goes. Dalton Kincaid is going to stay hot. I got more than 37.5 receiving yards for him. James Cook, he's going for a Bills' franchise record of consecutive touchdown scores. I think he's going to get in the paint, give me more than half a rushing and receiving touchdown. And then Spencer Rattler, more than 207.5 passing yards. I just think it's going to be a long game for New Orleans here, and he's going to have to move the ball down the field with a lot of long fields as well. Tell my picks or fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All that information is in the comment section and description of today's video. Okay, for the Bills to win this game, this first and foremost, you cannot fall into the trap. And I think the Bills know that. I think the Bills are familiar with that because Josh Allen, the Bills themselves, Sean McDermott, they're familiar with this type of environment here. Remember Josh Allen's first road start as a Buffalo Bill? Yeah, he walked into Minnesota as a 17-point underdog, and he just took them to the woodshed. 26-7, or 27-6, excuse me. Skunked them in their house. Can't let that same thing happen this week. You cannot fall into the trap. These massive, massive spreads put out by the people out west, it means nothing. Go out there. Professional football players on the other side of the line of scrimmage as well. Go out there and do your job, and you'll come out with a win. By doing that, we got to execute. Execute on special teams is the first key to victory here for your Buffalo Bills. And I alluded to it before. The Saints are a team that can shoot themselves in the foot big time, and specifically on these special teams type of plays. What did Seattle do in Week 3? Not one big-time special teams play. Not two big-time special teams plays. Like, probably a handful of massive special teams plays and elite coverage on the other end as well. They had a 95-yard punt return, a Seahawks franchise record. First one in like 10 years. Saints let it up. Blocked a punt of New Orleans as well. Gave Seattle a real short field, and a touchdown ensued. 50-yard plus kick returns happened left and right all day. So if you get a solid return game from Brandon Codrington, if you get even some pressure on punts to throw those guys off a little bit, give yourself a little bit more of a short field, it's only going to make your life easier, and it's probably the right move to make against a team that's just nowhere near your talent level. Keep things clean on offense is obviously another way to win this game easily as well. If there's anything we know about your Buffalo Bills, they don't turn the ball over, and that's a pretty big driver of success in the NFL. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys watched all the action on Sunday in Week 3. The Bills were off, so you got to kind of watch the rest of the National Football League go at it. Every team turned it over multiple times. It was ugly, ugly, ugly football, specifically ugly on special teams elsewhere as well. Josh Allen, he doesn't do that. And for a lot of people who complain, Josh Allen ain't throwing the ball down the field. He's checked down Charlie these days. Well, guess what? He's keeping the ball safe. And the Bills, outside of the Ravens game, have won both games by double digits. So why are we complaining? He has one turnover-worthy play per Pro Football Focus through the first 3 weeks of the season. Keep it clean. You're going to win the game. If you win the turnover battle, you will win again. James Cook has one fumble this season. It was not lost. Ball security is job security, James. Let's go. So the Bills have won the turnover battle in 25 straight games. 574, I think it was, offensive plays consecutively. The longest streaks in NFL history. Keep the streaks going. This is no team that's supposed to disrupt that whatsoever. Keon Coleman, can we get back in the mix? Shreveport, Louisiana native, going to be local, going to have probably a family at the game. I think this could be a big spot for Keon Coleman here. Can we get him back rolling after a monstrous Week 1 and a pretty lackluster following 2 weeks against some division opponents? We know what he did in that Ravens game was the icing of the game on that big the double move over the middle of the field, and ended up sliding at the 10-yard line that set up the game-winning field goal, and that capped off a night where he had eight receptions, 112 yards, and a score. And then you have the Week 2 and Week 3 games where he literally does nothing. And that's not to say that he was completely scripted out of the game, because he had a big-time drop in that Week 3 game against Miami. And look, in the Jets game, they were keeping the ball on the ground and all that stuff, so you can't blame him too much there. Josh really wasn't asked to do much himself. But in that Dolphins game, had a big-time drop on second down where he was open, hit him in the chest, a little bit of push fighting, hand fighting back and forth. Keon Coleman's got to be better at the catch point than that. He's got to be more physical. And we got to see bigger improvements from year 1 to 2. And that was one of the issues that the Bills had. And I think it killed Allen's confidence in Coleman for the rest of that Miami game, as he did not see another target. Get back on the right track this week. Keep Kamara in front. Alvin Kamara is the only player I respect on the New Orleans Saints. Pretty much. I mean, Chris Olave is all right, too. Rashid Shaheed's kind of fast. What else do they really have? Alvin Kamara is probably, borderline Hall of Fame kind of talent. But he is also the only player that the Saints have. So let's key in on him. Let's keep him in front as well. Let's limit the big plays that he can make, because that's a way that the Saints can come out of this game. And kind of similarly to the Dolphins, hang around, linger, and make the Bills kind of exude more effort than they really need to down the stretch of this one. Kamara hasn't seen big-time receiving volume so far this year in the Saints offense. Did have 6 targets, 6 catches in week 2, but the 2 bookend matchups, he's had 2 targets in each of those. So I expect them to get him more involved this week in that regard. And with that being said, Bills got to keep him in front. As far as how the Saints kind of get attacked on offense, they make Spencer Rattler be a game manager. They do not let him take shots down the field, because when he does take shots down the field, he's going to turn it over. So as far as his decision-making goes, that's a plus for them. He's going to have a lot of checkdowns. They've been limiting him to a lot of checkdowns so far this season. I think Kamara is going to be a big-time recipient of those. He's the one player that can make big plays, the one player that can make explosive plays out there, outside of like field-stretching ones, like a Shaheed down the field. Like, Bill's safeties better be in tap too. But Alvin Kamara is the only player on the Saints team that I am truly, truly fearful of making big plays all day long consistently. As far as what I said about that too high safety look earlier for Rattler, teams have been forcing him to check it down. This is an insane stat to me. Spencer Rattler faces the highest percentage of dropbacks with too high safeties, that too high shell that is making the passing game, the passing numbers in this league kind of go down over the past couple of seasons. It's made Patrick Mahomes a check down guy. It's made Josh Allen's average depth of target go down. It's just because of the too high safety look. Josh Allen, you see it's up atop the list there as well with Mahomes and Spencer Rattler. So they want to keep everything in front with the speed that the Saints do have on the outside, but they also want to make Spencer Rattler make decisions with the football, go through multiple reads, and that'll only muddy up the Saints offense even more. James Cook, keep cooking. Like I said, he's going for that Bills franchise record of games consecutive with a touchdown score. Tied it last week, 7 consecutive games. He's going for that 8th right now, and he's been one of the best backs in the National Football League this year. That contract looks better and better by the week. I mean, second in the league in rush yards. Bills rushing attack's been awesome. Shout out to the blocking there as well. We'll talk about them in just a little bit. Yards per carry, this guy's been efficient as hell. Top 10, tied for 8th in the league, over 5 and 8. And then rushing yards over expected. Oh, yeah. He is dominating. The second most in the National Football League so far this year. 4th in rushing EPA. Oh, and by the way, Josh Allen, I think, is 1st or 2nd in that regard, too. Also, 5th in yard after contact per attempt. Even when the blocks don't hold up, even when he gets to that second level and gets hit by a backer, he can create more yardage for your Buffalo Bills. Going to need the blocks to continue holding up, like I said, though. Going to need that 13 personnel to work. Going to need that 12 personnel to work. The extra tight end sets, Reggie Gilliam. You need everybody working in unison here. It's what we're going to need every week this season. The Bills are a well-oiled machine, and they cannot let the train fall off the tracks this week in a easily winnable game. I don't think it's going to be all that close, but just got to execute on the things you need to do. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. The only team that I think can beat the Bills in this matchup is the Bills themselves. Predict the score of this one for me down in the comment section. Bills, Saints, Week 4. Get your crystal balls out, shake it up, and let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. What will the score be, and who will win? My prediction for Week 4, Bills versus Saints, it's a big one. The Bills win 40-16. Hang a 40 burger back on New Orleans for the 2nd consecutive week. They will cover that 16.5-point favorite margin, and they will walk out 4-0 heading into the rivalry week matchup against the New England Patriots, debuting those New Jerseys on Sunday Night Football in Week 5. That will do it for today's edition of the show. Make sure you give me a follow over on Twitter. We'll be keeping you tabbed in with everything you need to know on social media leading up to this game and during the game as well, where I tweet out all the highlights. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. YouTube.com/BillsNews. We've got more videos coming up this week and a watch party at the end of the week as well for Bills versus Saints. So we'll see you guys all for those. And as always, let's go Buffalo.